good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay in the back? If you can't hear me, raise your hand. Can you hear me? All right, good. If you can, I'll speak up, and that'll be a cue to Michael also in terms of the volume that we need. So good afternoon and welcome. I'm Elizabeth Jofriana. I'm the Director of Heritage Resources here at Western Washington University. And in that role, I have the honor and privilege of managing the library's archives, manuscripts, and rare book collections. Those collections are actually housed in 3 different repositories around campus. The first one is the Library Special Collections in Wilson Library, and then 2 programs in this building, the University Archives and Records Center and the Center for Pacific Northwest Studies. We also have the honor of sharing this building with the Washington State Archives, who've been wonderful colleagues and partners to us and helped you all get parked out there. So it's been a long collaboration between those 2 programs. How many of you have done research here or have been here before? All right, so we've got a lot of newcomers and a lot of students who are newcomers, so we hope to see you back and you'll learn a little bit about some of the resources that we have through Michael's talk. So a great pleasure to see such a turnout today on such a gorgeous afternoon, so again, welcome. I think we have a really exciting talk that digs deep into campus history, and I think an interesting component of campus history. But before introducing Michael, I'd like to note that Michael's talk is the 3rd in our Heritage Resources speaker series. It consists of 3 speakers over the course of the academic year, so we're about halfway through. The one thing that these speakers share in common is that they've all used Heritage Resources collections extensively in their research. So it's our way of sharing, I think, some of the scholarship that's happening in our collections with the broader community and with the campus community. So again, thanks for being here. Quick shout out for a couple of upcoming talks. On February 3rd, Seth Norman, who's a Pulitzer Award nominee author, is going to be talking about his experience and work and research related to fly fishing. And then in May, we'll have Ron Judd, who some of you may be aware of. He's a journalist from Seattle. He's been doing some extensive research on Bellingham in the 1930s, the communist or Red Scare in Bellingham that resulted in the removal of President Charles Fisher. So in May, we'll return to campus history when we close our speaker series. And both of those talks will be up in the library, in Wilson Library. So with that, I'm absolutely delighted to introduce Michael and his daughter Michaela, who will do some introductory remarks before Michael begins speaking. Michael is from the Swinomish, Lummi, and Visayan nations. He's the current program manager of the Office of Native Education in the Washington State Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. You must have a business card about that big. Prior to this position, he spent 3 years as the Swinomish Communications Director and Editor of Kiox News. Did I pronounce that right?
That's okay.
Close? I did my best. For the Swinomish Indian tribal community. Prior to this role, he served 13 years as the coordinator for the Ethnic Student Center here at Western, and he's worked in higher education for over 17 years, including positions at Whatcom Community College, the Skagit Valley College, Northwest Indian College, and of course here at Western. Michael holds a bachelor's degree in American Cultural Studies with a Native American Studies emphasis and a master's degree in adult education with an emphasis in instructional technology. He's now a doctoral student at the University of Washington in the College of Education's Educational Leadership and Policy Studies program. Michael frequently serves as an MC at powwows, community events, and conferences, and performs at public poetry readings and in comedy venues. He also presents scholarly keynote lectures and workshops, and he's also a professional working DJ. It's a little bit of fun, a little bit of scholarship. It's good balance. Michael likes to talk about wellness, community activism, education as empowerment, leadership, intergenerational partnerships, and community building. So, Michael, it's a real honor to have you and your family here. Thanks for honoring me with your presence. And Michaela, if you'd like to put the introductory remarks, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michaela Vendiola. I'm going to be introducing my dad today. And just for a correction, it's Swinomish is our tribe, and we live out in Lummi on the Lummi Indian Reservation, and we're also Visayan, which is in the Philippines. Let's see. Okay. My roots are here at Western because of the Ethnic Student Center, which was formed basically, well, my mom and my dad were the 2 of the main organizers of the Ethnic Student Center, which have supported so many students since then. One of the most well-known things about the Ethnic Student Center is that it is a home away from home. for students of color on campus. And so being my mom and dad's daughter, I got the opportunity to grow up there and grow up on campus and just learn about like social justice and activism. And so yeah, that's where I come from. And I'm really excited for my dad. He just got his new job. I can't stop bragging about it. He's now in charge for K through 12 Native education for the state of Washington. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah, and I know he's been working really hard with his doctoral degree, and this is just part of what it's going to be like completed or whatever. Okay, Michael Vendiola.
That's awesome. Thank you. Love you. Well, thank you. I forgot to silence my cell phone. That'd be a good time to do that if you haven't done that, because I know it will start ringing. Technology. Quiet mode. And I'm almost there. Actually, I'm gonna, yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. I'm not texting during the presentation, but thank you to the organizers and the sponsors. Tony, thank you for the invitation, and hey, welcome, welcome. Perfect timing. The Lummies are here.
Always late.
It'd be appropriate to have a welcome from the Lummi people here in a minute. I'll just say my short introduction, and I'll turn it over to Candace here. But again, just thank you for the opportunity to come forward, and it's really great to see so many mentors here and allies from the community. Each one of you, I'm just recognizing you, thanking you, raising my hands to you, and just saying Haishka Siem, thank you, my relatives. And of course, it's good to see Nate and the Ethnic Student Center crew here. Just thank you for coming out and representing. That's a big deal to me. So that's really heartfelt. I appreciate you being here, and I hope I can give you something that's going to be useful. And thank you to everyone else that's here. And my mom was feeling under the weather. She wanted to be here today, but she would have said those words to you, and just wanted to say, just thank you for being here. So Candace, if you could just come forward, would love to have a welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm Candace Wilson from Lummi Nation, and I want to thank our hosts today for hosting the series of events here at Western, our traditional territory of the Lactamish people. I look forward to sitting here and being a part of this presentation. Thank Michael for inviting me to share a few words. I look forward to the series that's after this as well. And thank you all for coming out today.
Whew, I got that out of the way. Thank you, Candace. And it's one of the things this approach that I'm using for this research is from an indigenous perspective. And I think the beauty of that is that we're incorporating our own protocols. So what you saw now is a protocol that it's important that you recognize the home of the people who are from here. And so I really am honored to have Candace here and to be able to do a welcome like that. And we've done a lot of this work, and sometimes we take it for granted, but really it's a really important piece of our protocol and our culture and identity. And so I thank you for that. And I'll get into it. And I was hoping my daughter was going to speak longer so I could have less time up here. But you did a good job. Thank you, Michaela. I'm not going to show all the embarrassing videos on my Facebook, but I am going to show one, so I don't know if I can switch that over now or... Okay. See if it works. And if you guys all, friend request me, you can see all these cool videos from the Ethnic Student Center, some of the history of the good things that they do. Is it up there? Okay. Okay, well, I know where it's at now. So we'll spend the next 10 minutes doing the technology thing, the weird, but also. So while Tony's getting that going, so the College of Ethnic Studies was something that existed here at Western Washington University. That's a bold statement right there. A lot of folks don't know that the College of Ethnic Studies existed, and it came out of a plan that was called a Cluster College Plan, and there was 2 other colleges that were created at that time. One is the Fairhaven College. Anybody heard of that? So we have Dr. Marie Eaton here. Thank you for being here. Led the Fairhaven College for many years, and I don't know. Are you leading it now? You come and go, and you come back. You're a strong soldier for that school. And the other one was Huxley College of Environmental Studies. And then the third one was the College of Ethnic Studies. And so that's kind of what was going on back in the late 60s. And I have a video, and I want to acknowledge my wife also that's here, Michelle, who's also an alumni of Western. She did a beautiful research project on the Ethnic Student Center itself. And it'd be great, Tony, to invite her to come forward and share that, because it's a powerful video, has testimony of leaders throughout the whole age of the ESC, going back to 1991. So I'd love for you to share that. I was kind of hoping that she would be the one up here instead of me, because she's a great presenter. And then also my son is here, Melchor. Go ahead and there he is. I want to recognize him because he was the director of this video. That I'm going to show you. And he also has a role. Melcher, you got a minute?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about something that happened at Western that was pretty interesting, that I just learned about.
What?
They had a college called the College of Ethnic Studies.
Mm-hmm.
And it opened in, it opened in the late 1960s and lasted till 1978. Did you know about that?
No, I did not know that.
So, you want to hear more about it?
Okay.
Well, probably a better thing would be to go there. You want to go check it out, maybe?
Okay. Field trip!
Okay, you ready to go to Western?
Yeah.
Melcher, see Western's right across the bay right there.
Where?
Up there on the hill.
Oh.
Right up above the water.
Cool. So we're gonna have to take the ferry there?
No, we can drive.
It's a long way.
About 14 miles.
Does Western offer what's it called ethnic studies today?
Yeah, they have a program called the American Cultural Studies program that Larry Estrada,
Yeah.
and he's the director of that program. But it's a little bit different than the School of, or the College of Ethnic Studies, because American Cultural Studies is a program or a major, and the College of Ethnic Studies was a whole college. So they had an academic dean and a location.
Cool.
And a whole set of faculty members that on staff within that college alone. In September of 1969, the Board of Trustees at Western Washington University approved an ethnic studies program. The program was developed by an ad hoc committee and focused on 4 main points: the need for flexibility, experimentation, and continuing evaluation, the interdisciplinary nature of the curriculum, the desire to provide a different and more relevant kind of education, and the need for faculty members to be recruited for special assignments and arrangements not generally appropriate in conventional department units. In 1893, the state of Washington established the State Normal School in the town that would eventually become Bellingham, Washington. Located about 1.5 hours north of Seattle, Western Washington University by 1970 had grown to include 10,000 students. To meet the needs of the growing population, Western Washington University developed cluster colleges to break the student population into smaller groups. This would provide a better learning opportunity for students at the university. This was a college that the university started in the late 1960s and lasted until 1978. It was closed in 1978. And so, yeah, we're trying to find out
It
about
was
it.
closed? I didn't know that.
So yeah, that's what we're trying to get the word out.
That's
Inform
really
people that
interesting.
there actually was. It was like the second school in the nation.
Oh, all right, Matt. That makes sense now.
So were you aware of that school?
No, I was not aware at all. Never ever. Not until now. So.
And then as a student of color, would this be something that you'd be interested in, or would that be valuable to you?
Oh yeah, dude, for sure. It's always valuable to learn about other cultures. You need to shift your perspective, you know? You gotta be open-minded and open to new things. And I think learning about other people's experiences and such, that would allow you to learn more about others as well as yourself. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, sir.
We'll let you get on your way.
All right. Bye.
So we're here at Western Washington University up in Bellingham, and made it across the bay. Maybe we can find something in the Wilson Library. Want to go check it out?
Sure.
Let's go. After talking with the student, we were really excited to learn more about the College of Ethnic Studies. So we went to the Wilson Library at Western Washington University. We wanted to see if they could offer us some more information about the College of Ethnic Studies. Once we were there, we made our way up the stairs to find the reference desk and asked the librarians to see if they had any more information. And of course, they did have a lot of information. That's why they're librarians. They initially sent us to the school newspaper, the Western Front, and in the late 1960s and the early 1970s, we saw that there was a lot of articles about the student organizations that were present at the time, and we wondered what their influence was on the College of Ethnic Studies formation. As we continued our research, we began to understand the difficult situation the upper administration was in. On one hand, we read that students of color were pushing for more support and curriculum representation at the university level. On the other hand, there were many faculty who opposed the cluster college system, and in particular, a college that would focus on race and ethnicity. Fairhaven College, the first of the 3 cluster colleges, opened in 1968. Its primary focus was on the learning community. The learning community was a style that was developed that would focus on small groups or communities. The idea was that it would be a group process in the learning experience. Huxley College of the Environmental Studies was the second of the cluster colleges to be formed at Western Washington University. Its primary focus was on environmental studies. The third cluster college was the College of Ethnic Studies. It was formed under the pressure of students, faculty, and community members who saw the importance of studying a diverse community. So we're seeing some really cool things here at Western Washington University. I think we're at the building where the College of Ethnic Studies is located, so you want to go check it out?
Yeah.
Where the heck is it?
Where
the heck is the building at? It was a challenging time in the 1970s for Western Washington University. With budget cuts across the state and a very socially active student body, the university struggled to address all the concerns of the community. It was an intense time for the 3 cluster colleges. Each of them were under intense scrutiny. The College of Ethnic Studies still faced intense criticism by many faculty on campus. In addition, students and faculty of color pushed to have more support from the university and criticized the university for not giving that support to begin with. Students of color and their allies eventually took over their administrative offices in Old Main. Their main goal was to add faculty members that would provide more classes to the students that needed them. The College of Ethnic Studies scored a victory, but still struggled with internal issues and budgetary concerns. During this time, there was a tremendous turnover rate of 50% for the faculty at the College of Ethnic Studies. This was a tremendous blow to the morale for the students who were in the program. By this time, the College of Ethnic Studies was in a downward spiral. There were many factors that led to the closing of the college in 1978, with a lack of support from the university community, intense internal issues, high faculty turnover, budgetary concerns, and a low student morale. The college eventually closed. Hey Melcher, you got a minute?
Yes.
What's so funny? Come on!
Connect, and I can find that connection. And oh my God, Mom! Ma, te llamo ahora, tengo una entrevista, hombre. Okay, bye bye. Okay.
Hey!
Okay, 1, 2,
Come on!
1, 2, 3, go.
Okay, we're saying a lot. Let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling. Okay, stop crying. Okay. Does that work? All right. So let's give a round of applause to Melcher, who is the director on that. And he's still working. His latest project was a promotional video for the, what was it called? Oh yeah, the Tribal Governance and Business Management Program at Northwest Indian College. So it's online. You can check it out. He's still doing the video production. So, all right, 25 minutes, 20, yeah. So I want to leave some time for question and answer, but I'll try to get through it So that was exciting. We made that video obviously a few years ago, and it was exciting to kind of do that research and try to uncover some of those things that happened back then. And there's still a lot more to uncover, and I appreciate the help of Tony with digging some of these documents out. And these are classified documents. No, I'm just kidding. They're public documents that are here in the archives, and I forgot to say this at the beginning. For the students, especially the students from the Ethnic Student Center, this is really your history, and I just really am honored to come forward and share it, because I think a lot of times I remember as a student leader, we kind of operate outside of that history, and we're not really sure of our foundation. And one of the difficulties, as Tony and I discovered, is our documents that kind of talk about the work that students were doing back then. So a lot of the stuff all the stuff I'm sharing, except for one document, are administrative documents. And there's one letter in here that I'm really excited to share that came from the Black Student Union. But I think the lesson in that is that for our student leaders to really document the work that they do. A lot of the organizations have historians in them, and that should be a big priority for that position, because what winds up happening, years from now when we're trying to figure out what happened in the Ethnic Student Center, we don't have a lot to go on. Again, maybe we could have Tony stand up so the ESC folks can see him. This is the guy you want to talk with.
The Student Center has been a great example of documenting, because I have a student volunteer who's working on materials that they've sent over. He said if every office was as good as they are, I'd be out of a job.
Right. So as I was transitioning out, that was one of the initiatives we started, was to archive a lot of our past documents, and I'm glad, Nate, that you've kept that going, so I appreciate that work. I'm just going to go through a kind of a chronology of memos and documents that were going back and forth. Some of the things leading up, you kind of got the end of the story already, but leading up to the creation of the College of Ethnic Studies, its foundation is like the civil rights movement, and but there are a number of, as a result of the civil rights movement, of federal mandates that went through that kind of created the atmosphere at places like Western or college campuses and universities across the country. Things like this, the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Also in '64, they created the Office of Economic Opportunity. Some of these programs you might be familiar with, like VISTA, Job Corps, Community Action Program, Head Start. All those programs were started in 1964. The Voting Rights Act in 1965, which allowed more people of color the opportunity to vote. We're still struggling with that. I think that's part of my message today, is that we see these issues that happened back in the 60s, but they're still present today. 1965 Elementary and Secondary Education Act. Also in '65 was the Executive Order 11246, where the government contractors would take affirmative action, and that was the first time that language was used, to ensure employment and treatment without regard to race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Also in '65 was the Higher Education Act, and the reauthorization of the Higher Education Act in 1968 created the TRIO program, which some might be, any TRIO folks in here? Right on. Raise your hand, hi. Higher. We want to see you, because these are amazing programs that were created back then, and they created the Upward Bound Educational Talent Search, the Student Support Services. A lot of, I was a Student Support Services advisor at Northwest Indian College, and it's just a tremendous program. So what happened by creating those federal mandates was we saw a huge influx of students of color having access to the college and university campuses. Cool, right? Yeah, problem solved. Not really. And Joanne Williamson, Dr. Joanne Williamson Lott now, she got married, wrote a book called Black Power on Campus, 2003. Worth reading if you want to study this. She's on my advisory committee at the University of Washington, so she's also accessible. She termed this idea that the federal policy created a two-pronged policy on colleges and universities. And the first prong is the idea was that by creating these federal programs that would rectify past racial injustice. And then the second prong is to correct present discriminatory practices and conditions. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Are we still, we might cause someone to ask, we're still dealing with these issues today as a society, and why is that? So the idea was that Johnson said was trying to create the great society, so was passing all these federal mandates through, and under good intentions, I would say. So those good intentions almost never yielded the right mixture or the right result that institutions wanted and what communities of color wanted. And so what winds up happening is all these students come to campus, and then they get to campus and they open the doors like, come on in, we're ready to help you. Well, the language is already wrong right there, right? You're trying to help, you're trying to help us. We're trying to help you. And so that's how the dialogue becomes. And then the programs that were, a lot of students of color came onto campus as being, it's all that language that already, at risk, underprivileged, first generation, low income, all these terms are being placed on these students. And the students come to campus and they don't feel welcome. They don't have a sense of community there. They don't have a culture represented there. I'm looking at the ESC folks, see if this rings the bell with any of you, seeing their selves represented in the classroom or teaching the class. So thank you to the faculty of color that are here. I appreciate you being here. And so that creates a tremendous issue, because even though we have the access as students of color, the systems aren't necessarily, we're not creating the right programs at the institutional level to address the needs of these communities coming in. And on top of that, as a result of the civil rights movement in general was trying to address institutional change. That's why all these mandates started coming out. Well, when you're trying to address an institution, institutions are slow to change. And so we didn't really see a trickle down. It wasn't coming down fast enough as communities of color. The frustrations grow. The change isn't happening quick enough. And so what emerges out of the civil rights movement, there's a faction that breaks off organizations like the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and they start pushing the envelope, say we want these changes to happen quicker. And what emerges out of that is the Black Power movement. And what happens with the Black Power movement is the mentality is that you take matters into our own hands. And it's a very community-oriented, they create their own educational process, they create their own food programs and things like that. Usually what you hear in the media, though, is that they're really extremely violent and taking over buildings and carrying guns around. Does that sound familiar? In today's society, it's kind of interesting to see that that phrase about repeating history, right? So the Black Power movement quickly moves to campuses because they're coming with these programs that are opening up college campus doors. And what happens then is that we form student organizations that are addressing the Black Power movement agenda. And that happened here at Western as well. So they had a summer youth program here. They invited the first generation low-income students to come to campus to give them an experience. Primarily came from urban areas like Seattle and Tacoma. Also invited tribal communities. And so I was very fortunate because I started on this research project. This is all my research. And lo and behold, my godfather is one of the students who was one of the student leaders that came to campus as part of the summer program. So I had to sit there, like, okay, can I interview? It's kind of weird, because he kept cracking jokes throughout my whole interview. It's like, you're messing my research up. So, can you just tell the facts as best you can? So, but so they came to campus, and that kind of community movement was already ingrained in kind of concerns about what was being offered to them. One of the people that I like to talk about is Reginald Butler, and he came as a summer youth participant. He graduated high school and became a student here at Western, and he graduated from Western and became an employee of Western. And what was exciting about that was that he was somebody that was really trying to make the system work for his community. And one of the things that he's credited with is the formation, being very vocal about having education that's provided that meets the needs of the black community. So he also is credited with creating the Black Student Union. So any Black Student Union folks here, members? Right on. So that's important, because our history goes back to, the late 60s. Same thing with the Native American Student Union. I know there's members here from that organization. Any MECHA, I know MECHA's here. All those organizations were here at Western in the late 60s, bringing that community feel to it. Like they're bringing the needs, like they're being sent here with the mission of going to college to go back home to meet the needs of the community. And so the students are showing up here, and they're going to class, and they're one of the few people in the class, and then they're asking themselves, what does this have to do with my community? This isn't helping me with my community, it's helping you with your community. And so that began the dialogue, and certainly Reginald Butler was one of the catalysts that, Reginald Butler, so some of it for the younger folks, Reginald's son is Ishmael Butler. Anybody know Ishmael Butler? So Ishmael Butler is part of the group, was a part of the group Diggable Planets, and now has a group called Shabazz Palaces. So I'm just trying to say that so I could look cool. Oh, well, no, I mean, you really got to get this album, Shabazz Palaces' latest album. So, but it's very in that same strain of community activism. So it's good to see that he passed that on to his son. So the date on this video says that Dr. Jerry Floor became the president in '68. It was actually 1967. And he was actually appointed the president because the position was vacated. And so he came into, he didn't want to be president. He was in the biology department. He loved to teach, and he was appointed president. And it was a lot smaller. It wasn't like, you can't envision like what you have now for Western. It was a lot smaller. And so it was easy to appoint someone. It's like, okay, you're gonna be president. And so fortunately and unfortunately for him, it was like tremendous, the social justice movement on campus was huge, the social change movements. And so growing tensions on campus and nationally, national pressure, he kind of just, students are coming at them, faculty's coming at them, and they're saying we want these, classes offered, mainly black studies, and then there was an alliance between the other populations of color. So we need Native American studies and Chicano studies and Asian Pacific Islander studies. So he forms an ad hoc committee in '68. So now we're kind of getting to the memos here, the classified memos. So this is an important document because it really, it's like a timeline of the work, the administrative work that was being done up until July of 1969. And these dates are incorrect. This is, you can see it was corrected here, but not here. But this was actually, the ad hoc committee was created in October of 1968. And so that's worth noting because the college opens the following fall. So the timeline of creating the council to study the idea of ethnic minority classes and when the college actually opens was less than a year. And that doesn't usually happen, I don't think. Must have had some inspiration. So, okay. And I want to leave time. I'm sorry if I'm talking too long here. Okay. Excuse me? Oh, shoot. You have to. You're obligated to say that because I'm one of your students. But I appreciate that, Dr. J. He's just charity now. Okay. It's like, yeah, keep going. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So anyways, this is a memo that's from the dean. I'm not sure. I haven't found out what dean of what school he was heading up. Dean Brown. What English department? Okay, thank you. He was the Dean of Arts and Sciences and Chair of the English department, so thank you. So we got institutional memory in the room here. I appreciate that. And so this is talking about how I really find this memo very intriguing because basically this first line says, the board deadlocked 2-2 in informal session Thursday night and deferred the item to the new board. Mr. Philbrick was absent. And what was happening, it's kind of like the convergence. So what they're saying is they're pushing, there's going to be new board members coming on, and they're pushing it off onto that board. And so that's essentially what that means. And this memo from the President Flora to the Dean Brown is talking about strategy. And at the other interesting thing is item 8. I remain optimistic that this will happen. So all these other ones talk about, I'm very sorry that you have to be working on this during your sorely needed vacation. I suggest you do nothing this week and next as far as the college is concerned beyond ethnic studies. So it's like you got to keep working on this ethnic studies thing. Forget about everything else. So to me, what this establishes President Flora as an ally to the movement. So this is the language from the Board of Trustees saying that they approve an ethnic studies program instead of a college. And there was a motion to amend the program to college, and it failed. So the first attempt at the board said no to the college. Okay. Oh, I've been waiting to share this. Okay, we got a couple of folks from Black Student Union, but this applies to the whole student organization at Ethnic Student Center. This is a letter from the Black Student Union to the governor of the state of Washington, Honorable Daniel J. Evans. And I'm going to read it. And I'm sorry that it's almost 5 o'clock, but I think it's important to read this whole letter. Dear Governor Evans, this letter is in regard to the recent meeting of the Western Washington State College Board of Trustees. The issue at hand was that of the third cluster college at Western, namely the the Ethnic Studies College. The essential outcome was the denial of the college. We, the members of the Black Student Union at Western, are very concerned and feel it is our duty to inform you of our attitudes and the position we are being forced to take on this decision. We of the Black Student Union have been, for the past 2 years, working very patiently trying to get the proposal passed. All the required procedures were taken to gain this college, but it seems that you people will not let us work within the system and achieve any progress. an ethnic college was approved and was to be in operation by fall quarter of 1969. This was told to us by the administration and faculty, but your board of trustees in one meeting has denied us of this privilege. We were not notified that you will be making a trip to Bellingham on the 19th of September. We would like to make an appointment at this time with you to discuss the college. Your board of trustees has made a grave mistake again. Therefore, we are requesting you to intervene and rectify it. We want action on this matter and action now. We are tired of being patient. Evidently, the system cannot work without violence. Your decision on the matter is needed. We will be waiting for your reply and a time for a meeting when you will be available to see us on the 19th. We are enclosing a copy of the ad hoc committee and on the proposed college, which was the first memo that I shared, and the Board of Trustees statement. Makes you feel like coming to the meeting, huh? Should be interesting. So this is the one document that I have so far from a student organization. And this is all this stuff came from the president's office. You see it up here. This was in his file. And there's we found out there's a tremendous amount of information from different departments and positions. So that's a lot to take in. You know, I just, you know, I coming from a background, you know, from the Ethnic Student Center and just trying, you know, with a goal of trying to empower students as much as I could. You know, this is just, for me, is very honorable, you know, for these students and to be able to see it, read this, to see basically them trying to push for what they felt they needed on campus. And, you know, they did wind up meeting with them. I haven't read the minutes yet, but I know that the meeting did happen. There's a reply from him that I'm going to share. This is a memo from Jerry Flora to the Board of Trustees, and it's a response to the decision on the College of Ethnic Studies. But the reason why I'm sharing it is this line right here. The board has not said no to the name College for Ethnic Studies. That's a positive attitude. It's like you made a decision to create the program, but you didn't actually say not calling it the College of Ethnic Studies. So he's basically politicking there and, you know, trying to keep the flame going. This is a lecturer from the Department of English. He writes a letter. Again, this is kind of filling the atmosphere. Needless to say, your decision of 28 August denying college status to what you have chosen to designate ethnic studies program was short-sighted and a shocking disappointment to those of us who have spent so much time and energy trying to devise new educational procedures. Was it arrogance or self-righteousness or fear, gentlemen, that informed your decision? Regards, Dr. Price. Yeah. Okay, here's the response. This isn't, I'm sorry, I don't have the governor's response, but this is a letter from Joseph McGavick, and he's on the top left corner there. That's his, he was the head of the Washington State Board Against Discrimination. And I mainly wanted to share this because this was because of my new position at the state, the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. You know, these kind of things, I know I'm going to be running into these kind of advocacy things and seeing how I work with the tribal communities. And this is kind of, I could see this document being that kind of work. And he's basically stating, you know, I'm supportive of what you're doing there. You know, either President Flora reached out to him or the students reached out to him, and he generated this letter. But this one is a good paragraph. As a human relations practitioner over the past 19 years, I've become increasingly concerned about the fact that universities and colleges traditionally have not prepared students of varied ethnic backgrounds for living in a multiracial world. Sound familiar? As a result, attitudes of superiority based solely on superficial concerns have been perpetuated. In recent years, problems of the urban environment have become priority concerns on the state and national level. With this new awareness has come a new sensitivity for preparing young people to understand cultural and ethnic differences in a manner that instills in them an appreciation for differences and a higher degree of understanding that cuts across ethnic, religious, and national barriers. I can't wait to write a letter like that. I mean, that's amazing, you know. It's advocacy, you know, within the system. And so, you know, when we think about our social issues that we're having now, you know, obviously police, you know, brutality and those types of things that are happening in our community, I mean, this is still very present in today's, you know, in trying to address these issues. So I'm trying to place these type of issues into contemporary society. Okay, I think this, I'm going to make this my last slide. This is in October 16th of 1969. So this is the beginning of fall quarter. And this is a beautiful, I love this memo because one, I think it's a draft. I don't really know for sure, but I believe it's a draft, and it's from the Dean Brown to President Flora. And I'll read it real quickly. The statements of Dean MacDonald about student activism, coupled with a number of accounts I've been reading of late, indicate to me that the college program or program status of ethnic studies can well be and there's an editorial change there, to change the word to grave issue this fall term. Accordingly, since a rationale for a refusal to grant college status will one way or another be called for, I believe the board, another edit, should be advised that the reasons for the refusal at this time should be indicated. As I observed the meeting, the reasons were, one, a belief that launching a college rather than a program would be budgetarily unwise, a belief that the educational worth of ethnic studies had not yet been demonstrated and that experience of other institutions should be studied. 3, a belief that racial tension would increase as a result of the establishment of a college. 4, a belief that the establishment of a college would tend toward separatism and not integration. So, since each of these statements is a belief and is as such open to debate, I believe the board should schedule a meeting at which these matters can be aired. Perhaps a professional in race relations, someone from the State Board Against Discrimination, which we just saw the letter, could speak to the statements about racial tension and separatism. Without this meeting, this is the beautiful part, without this meeting, the board will be in the bad position of having turned down a program without presenting reasons for the decision. With this meeting, activists will. I think the activists were beating down the door while he was reading this. That's like the only thing I can imagine. It just, he couldn't complete it because they were coming. So, I think it's wonderful. I mean, because I can make up so many things about it as a researcher. So, as a result, the college was created in the fall of 1969. It opened the same year as the only other college, which is the College of Ethnic Studies at San Francisco State. Now, I'm sure that these people were watching what was happening at San Francisco State. And because at San Francisco State, they were firebombing the library, and they were taking over the whole campus, and they were going on student strikes, and they were going on faculty strikes, and then the unions got involved, and they showed up on campus, and all these things happened in San Francisco that kind of led up to their creation of the ethnic studies. So I don't really know if, you know, they were just trying to take the high road and avoid all the firebombing and stuff. I'm looking forward to trying to uncover all that, and I'm looking forward to having our conversation when we kind of talk about the implementation of it all. it's exciting to look at all these documents and wonder and think about, piece together what was going on at that time, and with the students as well, making the push to make this happen. And that's kind of where I want to stop right now. I know you all want to know what happened to the Ethnic Studies, College of Ethnic Studies. It did close formally in 1978. They closed it. They took it off the shoot. I haven't been in college long. What the heck is with all your class listings? Oh yeah, the catalog, the course catalog, and but really imploded in 1974. The budget was cut from it. It was beautiful to talk. I talked with Vendiola before he passed, and he talked about the situation there. I didn't formally interview him, but I just had an informal conversation with him, and he was like, and Vendiola at that time was, he'd just written his book. He was becoming nationally known, and they were able to get him to come here. He was the leading academic at that time of American Indian Studies. And he just said, what you know about Western? I was like, yeah, I'm a student there and I'm researching this College of Ethnic Studies. Those people didn't know what the hell they were doing. That was kind of his take on the whole thing. But what I think the reality of what he was saying is that these academics, these emerging academics, like he was a young, he just gotten his doctorate and was being pushed into, something that was badly needed, a whole vacuum that was needed to be filled, and they didn't have courses, so they're like trying to piece together, pulling from here and there, and there was no ethnic studies discipline to draw upon, and it's awesome to just think about like what, sometimes we think, wow, if we just had this, we could do anything, but a lot of times, they were given that and they just didn't have the tools and things that they needed. They couldn't, just think about if they're trying to create a syllabus, and what's the reading list going to be? Who's published about American Indian? AIM hadn't happened yet. It was happening right then, or any of the historical stuff. Nobody had written about Wounded Knee, or so. That was also a major downfall for the ethnic studies, that a lot of those faculty members were brought in and weren't given any direction, weren't given any support. So I thank you for your time, and I appreciate it, and I raise my hands, just saying thank you, and I hope it was worthwhile, interesting, and thanks for being here. I'll take some questions too if you want.